There's a reason it feels like you're pushing and praying and vision boarding your heart out, but still stuck in the same loop, like you're right on the edge of something massive, but it won't click. You've tried believing harder, visualizing longer, speaking it into existence with every affirmation you can memorize. But deep down, there's a weight, a quiet panic, a haunting suspicion that maybe you're doing it wrong, or worse, that something in you is still not enough. This is the trap of separation, of thinking the power is somewhere out there, something to summon, earn, deserve. But manifestation is not magic. It's not a trick, a spell, or a game of cosmic roulette. It's remembering the truth that was buried beneath the performance. You are already God in motion, not in theory, not in metaphor, in frequency, in form, in flesh. Every breath, every pulse, every subtle desire is source, exploring itself through you. When you believe the power is outside of you, you distort the signal. You become the seeker instead of the source, and the vibration of seeking is lack. It collapses your field. It signals to reality. I'm not it yet. I'm not there yet. I need this to be complete. So the timeline stays out of reach, like a carrot always dangling just ahead. But here's the shift, the deepest one. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And when you remember that what you are is already divine, already whole, already broadcasting the blueprint of your next becoming, the field begins to reorganize, coherently, effortlessly, like a flower turns to light, not because it forces, but because it remembers. Because it's designed for bloom, you are too, but only when you stop gripping the seed, only when you stop doubting your soil, only when you stop outsourcing your divinity to the future. God doesn't manifest by begging. God manifests by being. That's you, that's this. The version of you that is still trying to earn it, still begging for a sign, is operating from fracture, from a nervous system coded in survival, not creation, from a mind addicted to proof instead of presence. But you can feel it, can't you? That flicker of knowing under the noise, that soft heat in your chest when you stop running, that ache of recognition when the world goes still, and you remember, I am not waiting for it. I am it. The it I've been waiting for, the frequency I've been trying to tune into is me, already humming, already whole, not with effort, but with essence. Not more doing, more remembering. This is the collapse of seeking, the death of control, the birth of alignment. Manifestation is not about adding more, it's about subtracting the noise, the doubt, the tension, the grip, until what remains is you, undistorted, unapologetic, undivided from the field. And from that place, things begin to move, not because you chased them, but because they were always orbiting you, waiting for coherence, waiting for congruence, waiting for you to feel safe enough to receive. It's not magic, it's mechanics. It's the sacred physics of self, of resonance, of vibration. It's how the field reads you, not by your words, but by your nervous system, by your signal, by the stories pulsing through your cells. And when those stories shift, from fracture to wholeness, from fear to embodiment, from performance to presence, everything changes. Not all at once, but undeniably, irrevocably. Because when you are no longer trying to become God, but allowing yourself to be God in action, the veil lifts, the effort stops. And the manifestations, they don't trickle in. They flood, because they are just reflections, mirrors of your coherence, echoes of your frequency. That's the truth. That's the key. Not control. Coherence, not magic. Memory. The memory of who you've always been beneath the noise. You can feel it in the way you breathe when you stop forcing, in the softening that happens when you're no longer trying to prove yourself to the universe, but remembering the universe is pulsing through your fingertips. That shift from force to frequency is not subtle, it's seismic, and it begins not in the mind, but in the body. In the way your shoulders drop when you no longer carry the weight of becoming. In the way your chest expands when you stop bracing against life and start opening to it. You don't need to convince reality of your worth. You only need to align with the version of you that already knows, the one who doesn't hustle for love, beg for signs, or barter with the future, the one who doesn't see God as a distant force to petition, but as a frequency that breathes through their being every moment. That's the quantum truth. You're not here to manifest as a separate self. You're here to dissolve the illusion of separation, and from that space, allow manifestation to be the natural unfolding of your coherence. Your frequency is your fate, And when your frequency is fragmented by fear, urgency, doubt, what returns to you will mirror that. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because the field is loyal to your signal. That's how powerful you are. The question is not, how do I make this happen? The question is, what version of me is the signal right now? Is it the one who's still waiting to be chosen, or the one who knows she is the chooser? Is it the version who watches the phone, craving a message to validate her existence, or the one who knows that presence is already magnetic? Is it the self who seeks proof through external movement, or the self who becomes the proof by choosing vibrational congruence no matter what's shifting? Outside, you manifest from your state, not your statements, not your vision board, not even your intention. Those things can help, but only if the nervous system beneath them is calibrated to receive. And receiving is not passive. It's a bold act of energetic safety. It's saying, I trust the unfolding because I trust myself in it. It's walking into the unknown without hypervigilance, because you're no longer scanning for signs of lack. You're scanning for reflections of alignment. And the field will match that, every time. Because the field is not judging you, it's reading you, listening, tuning into the coherence or the static within you. And from that, it forms. You want to know what's blocking your manifestation? It's not a missing method. It's a missing memory, a forgotten knowing, a disconnection from the God state that lives inside your presence when it's not being distorted by performance. This isn't about thinking positive. It's about being clear, about regulating the static of self-doubt long enough for the signal to stabilize. And that stability, it's felt. It's nervous system deep. It's the way your breath doesn't hitch when things are uncertain, the way your heart stays open even when the outcome is still unseen. Because that's when you become dangerous to limitation. That's when reality bends. Not because you forced it, because you finally matched it. You remembered, the future you're trying to attract is not on a pedestal. It's an extension of your current signal, so the work is not out there. It's in here, in how you hold yourself when nothing has arrived, in how you walk as if it's already done, in how you shift from panic to presence, not once, but every time your mind tries to grip. And it will. That's not failure, that's invitation. An opening to recalibrate, to shift not just your thoughts, but your tone, your tempo, your timeline. Because timelines don't respond to hustle, they respond to harmony. And harmony begins when you let go of trying to control the outcome and start becoming the outcome's origin. You are not here to chase, you are here to align. You are not here to beg, you are here to embody. And embodiment is the bridge, always. There's a sacred moment that happens when you stop trying to make it happen and instead allow yourself to be the one it happens through. It's not a doing, it's a dissolving, a melting of effort into essence, of striving into stillness. And when you feel it, it's unmistakable. The tension drops. The air feels lighter. Your thoughts slow down, not because you silenced them, but because your signal became clearer than the noise. That's the frequency where reality bends, where manifestation becomes a mirror instead of a mystery. You've been taught to chase it, but chasing is rooted in lack, and lack is loud, desperate, incoherent. It pulls your energy out of alignment with what you say you desire. The version of you that needs it now, that grasps for the sign, that clings to the outcome, is not the version that receives, because it's not safe yet, it's not coherent yet, it's not home in itself yet. And when you're not home in yourself, the universe doesn't know where to deliver. Your house isn't wired, the address is scrambled, the frequency is fuzzy. That's why it doesn't land, not because you're unworthy, but because the signal is unclear. But when you stop outsourcing your power to timing, when you stop needing it to happen in order to feel whole, something radical unfolds. The field receives a new instruction, not one spoken, but one embodied, one felt, one that says, I remember who I am, with or without the manifestation. That is the highest signal. That is when you become magnetic, not because you're performing, but because you're coherent. You've stopped trying to manipulate the mirror and started becoming the reflection you've been waiting to see. This is the paradox most miss. Manifestation is not about creating something outside of you. It's about collapsing the illusion that it was ever separate. That's what it means to be God in action, not in ego, in essence, in quiet, regulated, grounded coherence. Not power over life, but power with life, in rhythm, in trust, in resonance. That's the true magic. Though it's not magic at all, it's physics, it's vibration, it's the science of safety. Because a dysregulated system cannot create from clarity. It creates from survival, from scarcity, and survival is not a match to expansion, so the work is not to force a new timeline. It's to become safe enough to receive the one already trying to find you. And safety, real safety, is energetic, emotional, somatic. It's in how your body holds uncertainty, how your heart beats in the in-between, how your breath meets the delay, the silence, the unknown. You know this, even if you've forgotten. You felt it in the moments you surrendered, not by giving up, but by giving in the times you stopped gripping and suddenly things clicked, in the moments you finally let go of when and reality whispered, now. That's not coincidence, that's coherence. The field can finally land what you've been asking for, not because it suddenly heard you, but because you finally matched it. You came into resonance, and in resonance, there is no resistance, no begging, no chasing, only receiving. And receiving doesn't mean passive, it means powerful. It means your body has become a clear signal. Your frequency is tuned to truth, and truth is always magnetic. So breathe, not to calm yourself down, but to tune yourself in. To regulate the noise that scrambles your signal, to anchor the remembrance that you are not waiting for the divine. You are the divine, waiting to be remembered by yourself. And that remembrance, it's the key, it's the code, it's the collapse of time. Because the moment you embody it, the moment you stop reaching and start radiating, is the moment reality recalibrates. Not as a reward, as a response, a mirror, a match. I used to think surrender meant weakness, that if I let go, I'd lose control, and if I lost control, I'd lose everything I was working toward. But what I didn't realize then is that control was the very thing blocking the arrival. Control is constriction. It's a clenching of the nervous system. It's the body's way of saying, I don't trust this moment to hold me, so I must manage it. But what you manage, you don't magnetize. What you grip, you delay. Control is not safety. It's the illusion of safety. It's survival dressed as strategy. But the field doesn't respond to strategy. It responds to state, to truth, to the tone of your inner being. And when your state is tense, frantic, chasing, the field mirrors chaos back, not as punishment, as precision, as evidence of what's being broadcast. This is why you can think positive thoughts all day and still feel stuck, because the words are dressed in fear, because underneath the surface affirmation is an undertone of urgency. If I say this enough, maybe it'll come. Maybe I'll feel different. Maybe it'll finally shift. But you can't lie to vibration. You can't trick the field. You can't whisper love while your body screams lack. That incoherence is the disruption, not your desire, not your timing. The disconnect between what you're saying and what you're being is what distorts the delivery, so the work is not louder declarations. It's deeper embodiment. It's asking, can I become the space where my desire feels safe to land? Because your desires are not random. They are the future remembering itself through you. They are timeline invitations, frequency codes, but they need a vessel. They need a body that says yes, not just in thought, but in tone, in presence, in stillness. That yes cannot be rushed. It must be felt, and it often arrives not in the high, but in the quiet, in the sacred pause between efforts. In the moment your chest softens and you feel, even for a second, maybe I don't need to try so hard. That's coherence. That's the shift. And it's enough to ripple timelines. The field is listening to your nervous system, not your vision board. It's reading the space between your thoughts, the undercurrent, the unspoken belief. So when you say, I trust, but your breath is shallow and your stomach is tight, the field receives the real message, I don't feel safe yet. And it waits. Not because it's withholding, but because it's wise. It knows that without inner safety, the thing you're asking for will become another source of stress, another thing to grip, another reason to spiral. The field is never punishing you. It's protecting your alignment. It's waiting for your coherence. That's love, that's precision, that's quantum mercy. So let yourself slow down, not to stop the process, but to feel where you've left yourself, to reclaim the parts still trying to manifest from panic, to gather the fragments and come back into center, into now. Because manifestation happens through now, through the version of you that is no longer waiting to be validated by the outcome, but already vibrating in the knowing. I am the source, I am the signal, I am the sacred echo of all I've asked for. Not someday, not if I get it right. Now. And in that now, the field rearranges, not in chaos, in coherence, not through pressure, through presence. That's how you collapse timelines, not by pushing harder but by softening deeper, until your being becomes the bridge, until you no longer reach for the thing, but remember you already are it. The feeling, the frequency, the form, all of it, already alive inside you, waiting for space, not strategy, for trust, not tension, for embodiment, not effort. It took me a long time to understand that my grip was the block, that every time I reached out in desperation, the field read it not as devotion, but as division, a signal that I didn't believe I already held it, that I didn't yet feel safe enough to stop striving, that I didn't yet remember I was already the source. You see, the future doesn't respond to your want. It responds to your willingness to become, not later, not after it arrives, but now, in the invisible, in the echo, in the quiet courage of walking as if it's already true, even when your senses still scream that nothing's changed. That's not delusion, that's coherence, that's identity before evidence. And identity before evidence is the root of quantum embodiment, because reality is not created by what you say, it's created by what you settle into, what you believe with your breath, what your posture reveals when no one's watching, what you hold when the silence stretches longer than expected and nothing's arriving on time. Can you still hold the frequency? Can you still breathe like someone who trusts their timeline? Can you still rest in the knowing that your desire is not a distant wish, but a living signal unfolding in you? This is the difference between urgency and embodiment. Urgency contracts, embodiment expands. Urgency says, I need it to happen so I can feel okay. Embodiment says, I'm already okay and so it's happening. One begs, the other becomes, and becoming is a full-body frequency. It's how you walk, speak, feel, respond. It's how you hold the void without collapsing. It's how you move through the world when no one's validating you yet. When the signs are quiet, when the evidence is thin, that's when you're shaping reality, not through effort, but through essence, not through performance, but through presence. That's when the field leans in, because the field knows the difference between force and frequency, between chasing and choosing, between controlling and creating. And when you choose, when you embody, when you trust the process enough to stop pushing, it meets you, not as a reward, as a reflection, because everything is responding to the version of you that is most stabilized in your system. So the real work is not out there. It's not in more books or more rituals or more methods. It's in the mirror, in how you speak to yourself in the waiting, in how you soothe the ache without suppressing it, in how you love yourself in the liminal, because the liminal is where the shift happens, where the old dissolves and the new is still forming. It's the cocoon, the in-between, the sacred hallway between realities. And your job there is not to rush. It's to regulate, to breathe, to root into the knowing that you are not behind. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are aligning. You are not lacking. You are reconfiguring your signal to hold more. And when that signal stabilizes, when your frequency says yes with every cell, not just when you're high, but when you're hollow, not just when you're sure, but when you're scared, that's when reality moves. Not because you tricked it, because you became it, because the new identity landed, and with it, the field rearranges. The timeline collapses. The thing you've been chasing starts chasing you, not because it changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting for it to prove something to you. You started proving to yourself, through your state, your stillness, your self-trust, that you were ready, that you were it, that you'd always been it, that you were simply remembering now. There's a moment, quiet but unmistakable, when the striving stops. Not because the desire disappeared, but because you finally remembered that desire is not a demand. It's a declaration of who you already are becoming, and in that remembrance, the energy shifts. Your spine straightens, your breath slows, your gaze softens, not from defeat, but from reunion. You're no longer chasing something outside yourself, you're syncing with something within. That's embodiment. That's when the inner becomes the instruction. That's when the field can finally respond with clarity, because now there's no static, no mixed signals, no contradiction between your intention and your identity. This is the power of coherence, of becoming the shape that matches the signal, not with fantasy but with frequency. The frequency of someone who knows they are no longer trying to prove or persuade or pretend, but simply allowing. That kind of allowing isn't passive, it's electric. It's the moment your system relaxes into its own divinity. The moment your energy stops apologizing for what it desires. And that, more than any ritual or method, is what turns timelines to water, what bends reality to meet you, not in pity, but in precision. The field is exact. It mirrors your becoming. So when you shift from identity of seeker to identity of source, reality doesn't hesitate. It reflects. It aligns. It brings to you what you've already become available to hold. And here's the deepest secret most people miss. Becoming doesn't require more effort. It requires less resistance, less performing, less proving, because what you seek is already trying to move through you. It's not far away. It's coded into your being, waiting for safety, for resonance, for you to stop gripping the timeline and start embodying the essence. And essence isn't loud. It's not frantic. It's not trying to be noticed. Essence is calm, certain, undeniable, like gravity, like the sun. It just is. And when you operate from essence, you don't need to convince reality of your readiness. You become the evidence. So if you're still waiting for the thing to show up so you can feel whole, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what if the manifestation isn't late? What if I'm still holding it at arm's length by believing it lives outside of me? What if every delay is an invitation to deepen, not into doing, but into identity? Because when you identify as the one who already has it, who already is it, who already radiates the frequency of fulfillment, everything changes. Not in theory, in tone, in tissue, in tempo. You move differently. You speak with less rush. You breathe with more trust. And that trust is not naive, it's magnetic. Trust is not waiting, it's remembering. It's how the field knows you're coherent. Because coherent beings don't collapse under delay. They expand within it. They hold their signal in the silence. And silence is never empty. It's information, it's integration. It's the recalibration of your field to match the thing you said you wanted. So let it work. Let the pause shape you. Let the waiting strip away everything that isn't aligned. Because what remains is the you that doesn't need to try anymore. The you that knows without force, without fear, without proof. That manifestation is not about magic. It's about memory. The memory of your own divinity in motion. That's what changes the game. Not better techniques, but a better signal. A cleaner channel, a softer frequency. And that frequency doesn't beg. It breathes. It doesn't chase. It anchors. It doesn't rush. It radiates. And in that radiance, everything finds its way to you. Effortlessly, not as a miracle, as a match. The truth is, the moment you stop trying to become what you already are, the field breathes a sigh of relief, like, finally, she remembers. Because up until now, you've been trying to manifest like someone separate, like a visitor, like someone trying to dial into a frequency that was always inside you. But manifestation isn't about dialing in. It's about dialing down, out of the noise, the proving, the pushing, into the quiet knowing that you are already tuned, already vibrating, already whole. And wholeness is the most attractive force in the universe, not because it demands attention, but because it emanates peace. It speaks in the subtle language of resonance. It doesn't announce, it aligns. When you walk in wholeness, the world starts to bend, not to flatter your ego, but to mirror your field. That's what we call quantum shift. Not the sudden appearance of a miracle, but the gradual collapse of distortion. And distortion looks like fear, urgency, doubt, needing to know. It feels like the tightening in your belly when things don't move fast enough, like the clench in your chest when the message doesn't come, like the frantic refresh of your screen looking for signs. But the field doesn't move from that energy, because it can't hear truth through tension. It waits for you to settle, to surrender, not because you gave up, but because you gave in, to your own essence, to your own enoughness, to the frequency beneath the fear. This is how you collapse timelines, not by sprinting harder, but by softening so completely that your frequency becomes undeniable, irresistible, impossibly clear, because the clearer you are, the faster reality responds, not because you became someone new, but because you stripped away everything you were pretending to be. The field always responds to your truest signal. So if you're still performing clarity while holding chaos underneath, the field reads the chaos. If you're affirming abundance while embodying urgency, the field mirrors the urgency. It is brutally precise, but not to punish you, to guide you, to bring you back home to alignment. And alignment isn't a posture, it's a presence. It's how you move when no one's watching. It's the tone beneath your silence, the breath beneath your choices, the stillness you carry into uncertain spaces. That's what the universe reads, not your words, your willingness, your coherence, your actual felt safety in the body. And if you're not there yet, that's not failure, it's feedback, an invitation to slow down, not speed up, to soothe, not strive, to feel, not fix, because the field will never give you something that would dysregulate your nervous system. It loves you too much for that. So what if the delay is not denial? What if it's protection? What if the thing you want most is orbiting closer and closer, but it needs a clear landing strip, and your job is to clear the static, to drop the performing, the planning, the panic, and instead live as if it's already true, already real, already done. That's not pretending. That's aligning. That's how timelines collapse. Not from pressure, but from presence, from a kind of embodied certainty that doesn't need to shout. It simply is. It walks into rooms differently. It breathes with a quieter rhythm. It no longer needs to know when because it already is the how. And that's the shift, from obsession to openness, from control to clarity, from waiting to being. That's when the field stops circling and starts landing. Not because you forced it, because you finally became the frequency that could hold it. You were never here to chase. You were here to remember, to reclaim the truth beneath the tension, the quiet knowing that you are not the visitor of creation, but its very source. You are not separate from the miracle you seek. You are its unfolding, its heartbeat, its breath, and the moment you stop waiting for life to crown you and begin walking as if you already wear the crown, that's the moment the field begins to bow. Not because it's impressed, because it's responding, because it always has been. This is the sacred irony. Nothing comes when you need it most, and everything comes when you no longer need it at all, because need is a contraction, a static, a distortion of your natural power. But when you no longer need it, because you've become it, there's nothing blocking the flow. You're no longer grasping, you're glowing. You're no longer proving, you're pulsing. And the field knows the difference. It moves toward coherence, like water finds the lowest place, like heat seeks the open hand, like light rushes to the window that finally lets it in. You don't manifest by micromanaging the moment. You manifest by becoming so stable in your frequency that life has no choice but to meet you where you've already arrived, not later, now, not after the healing, now, not after the sign, now, not after the outcome, now, because now is where God lives, in the breath you've been holding, in the body you've been abandoning. In the moment you finally decide to stop outsourcing your divinity to some better version of yourself. You are it. You have always been it. And when you live like you are it, not arrogantly, but accurately, you become a portal, a point of convergence, a living embodiment of the thing others are still searching for, not because you figured it out, but because you remembered. You stopped begging the mirror to change and started softening into the shape of your soul. You let the grip go. You let the mind rest. You let the nervous system speak its truth, and instead of overriding it, you held it. You breathed through it. You showed it, through presence, not performance, that it is safe to open now, safe to receive, safe to become. Because that's what this journey has always been. Not about having more, but being more of what you truly are. Not about calling in the future, but collapsing the separation between you and it. And the collapse doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with stillness, with spaciousness, with the quiet joy of no longer needing evidence to feel embodied. That's the threshold, that's the doorway. And the moment you step through, you realize nothing was ever missing. It was just waiting, waiting for your coherence, waiting for your arrival, waiting for you to stop casting spells of separation and start radiating the memory that I am already the magic I've been trying to summon. So breathe, not to escape, but to return. Lay down the performance, drop the strategies, stop trying to manage your becoming and instead inhabit it, fully, fiercely, quietly. Let your walk speak the prayer. Let your stillness call the wave. Let your frequency do the work. And when it shows up, because it will, you'll know it didn't come from control. It came from coherence, from the deep, embodied knowing that manifestation is not magic. It's what happens when God remembers itself through you.